Hi everyone, in this video we are going to look at the structure of blood vessels and the function of blood vessels. We will relate structure to function. The question states, describe the structure of arteries and how their structure is related to their function. We say that arteries have thick muscular walls. These thick muscular walls contain elastic fibers. As a result of these thick walls, arteries have a small lumen. The lumen is the opening through which the blood flows. Let's discuss the function of arteries. Arteries are required to withstand the high pressure of the oxygenated blood, which is pumped into the arteries by the heart. Let's take a look at structure as it relates to function. In order for arteries to withstand this high pressure, the artery walls need to be thick, elastic, muscular. Think of a garden hose, right? So in using a garden hose, you can feel the water pulsing through the hose, and if there are thick walls or it's a thick hose being used, it helps to smoothen that flow of liquid. Right? Apply this concept to arteries in the body. The thicker the artery wall, the smoother the blood flow. Also, the size of the lumen will also help to smoothen that blood flow. We say that a narrow lumen helps to maintain the high blood pressure, but it also helps to smoothen that blood flow. And the thicker the muscle, the better it is able to withstand this high blood pressure and prevents rupture. In the same way, a garden hose may burst and there may be a leak. Right, so think of that as applied to your arteries. The thicker the walls, the better. Right, so you have to ensure to take down the notes seen from the screen. Let's take a look at the structure and function of veins. Veins are said to have thin walls with valves, and veins are said to have a large lumen. The structure of the vein is important to the function, and this is because veins allow the blood flow of deoxygenated blood at a slower rate or a lower blood pressure. And these thin walls with that large lumen allows for a slower rate of flow of deoxygenated blood. Please ensure to pause the slide and take down the notes before we move on to looking at the structure and function of capillaries. The question states, describe the structure of capillaries and how their structure is related to their function. Now, capillaries are said to be a network, right? So there's a huge network of capillaries, and a capillary is said to be one cell thick, and there are gaps between the cells in the cell wall of a capillary. Right? Remember the diagram drawn before? Very simple diagram. Which shows that the capillary is one cell thick and there are spaces between the walls. Let's relate the structure to the function. As mentioned before, capillaries will carry nutrients and oxygen in the form of oxygenated blood, and capillaries must transport these substances to the cells of the body. Nutrients and oxygen have to move across the cell wall of the capillary in order to get to the cells of the body. This means the thinner the cell wall, the faster or easier this process is. In addition to transporting nutrients and oxygen to the cells of the body, substances must also be taken away from cells of the body. These substances include carbon dioxide and other waste substances or materials. Carbon dioxide and waste materials must then move across the capillary wall into the blood. Now, this process of food, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and waste materials moving, we refer to this movement as diffusing. Right, so I'm mentioning the term. It's not necessary that you learn it off, but this movement is described as diffusion. And all of these substances which are required to move across the cell wall or in the gaps of the cell wall are the reasons why the structure of the capillary is as it is right now, right? So, and for lack of a better term, the structure of a capillary we say is one cell thick, there's gaps between the walls, and the reason for the structure is the function. The function is that capillaries transport substances, nutrients, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and waste materials. And one more point to note is that while blood flows through capillaries, this blood flow has to be slow enough to allow this movement of substances across the capillary wall. Right, so on this slide, I'm going to expect you to take down the structure, the function, and that little note about the rate of blood flow. And before we end off, we'll just take a look at this slide, which gives us a better idea of what occurs in a capillary. So we have our capillary wall. Sorry, I'll repeat. We have a diagram showing us the red blood cells passing through the capillary, and we see the body cells shown in green. And this gives us a better idea of the fact that oxygen and nutrients must move or diffuse from the blood to the cells of the body, and a waste product such as carbon dioxide leaves the body cells and moves towards the blood present in the capillary. Right, you're not required to take down the diagram from the screen, but if you so choose to, you can.